Today, I'm really excited because I have very special guest, Kamron Waithe. And she's one of a kind Belizean and Trinbagonian creative, which includes things like being a film producer, creative director, and just a whole multidisciplinary that we definitely gonna jump into today. You've worked with Mikel Teja, Full Blown Entertainment, Destra Garcia, Marshall Montano, Kutain, and so many others, and so many really cool productions too. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you a few years ago, where you were working as part of was it the marketing side of things for Ejo? And you always did such an incredible job. And I'm just so happy to connect with you today so that we could just talk and expand our community. And yeah, we'll just get into it. How are you though? Meanwhile, I just copy and paste these things in the right categories.
I feel like that's always such a loaded question for people that actually care about answering truthfully too. I feel like I'm as okay as I can be considering just everything that's going on, it's a lot. A lot is happening. Externally, internally,
Yeah.
I'm surviving. I feel like that's just kind of
I know. Yeah, you're just navigating every day, one day at a time.
in only the ways that I can in that moment,
Mhm.
that I'm
Mhm.
able to for myself and for whoever else concerns me. And I posted on my stories yesterday and I was telling people, I was like, I feel so conflicted with showing up online, but even more so now that so much is going on socially at home. It's thinking about having to be present online to get work or to, and I struggle even sometimes with the type of work that I do. There's a large part of me that understands that my work is meaningful and that's it's necessary for the culture and that it contributes positively to the spaces that I want to see, and that contributes to my larger vision and for the reason why I do things. There's a part of me, especially when things are kind of socially unresty, that's so we make freaking videos for a living that people for songs that tell people to jump and wave. Meanwhile, people are dying and it's tough. So it's, as an artist, it's strange. I want to do more work that has a certain level of social impact or even just social commentary. I hate the fact that we lost calypso in a way that we lost social commentary in music. There's nobody talking about what's going on right now. There's nobody acting as mirrors and reflecting what's going on. I truly feel that is one of the major roles of artists in society. It's so much mentally to navigate because of course you want to survive and you have to survive, and in order to do that, you have to do the things that make you money. That still has to happen in the midst of you feeling all of this internal conflict. So that's how I am.
I appreciate that honest answer so much because I could completely relate to you. There's no rule book here, how do we handle post-pandemic, pre-war, even doing this, I'm like, bro, how could I be so happy reaching out to people when we have every single day things are changing in Trinidad?
It's tough because I went on my stories last night and I was just yeah guys, I had a visualizer shoot with Marshall and I had all intentions of posting on my socials to hype people throughout my day, but anytime I'm working I'm not focusing on posting. I'm just, my brain is not there. As a producer I have a million other things on my brain. So I'm just I don't know how you all do this. I do so much respect to content creators who create content surrounding their actual jobs, because I'm just I don't know how you all multitask like this. This is insane. And I had all intentions to post about it or whatever, but I took one video and I took two pictures for the entire day on my personal phone. And I went on my stories last night and I was like, guys, I was planning to do this, but I didn't, and here I am. I'm in my room, I'm exhausted. But balance is a big thing for me. And I think sometimes with the level of thought that I just constantly have in my brain, it's really easy to sit down and get frustrated and get lean into that side more than anything else, because it's just, there's so much thought, there's so much going on. It's so easy to get overwhelmed and it's so easy to have that almost realistic leaning towards pessimistic perspectives. And again, because I'm balanced, like I'm not also not about leaning towards toxic optimism either. I think that sometimes especially in like Trinidad / the Caribbean, we're like especially Trinidad, we're like toxically positive, like almost to the point of being ignorant. Sometimes being realistic is also like really necessary. Balance always has me in conflict because I'm like, on one side, yes, I understand that joy is a necessary thing to be intentional about, especially when things are difficult. But I am also like cognizant of the fact that sometimes we lean so much into joy that we do not acknowledge what is actually happening.
Yeah.
So
And become delusional, actually.
yeah.
So you didn't end up posting.
Like I took one picture and I posted that picture at the end of the videos and I was like, yeah guys, I'm conflicted, blah 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 blah. Here's a picture and that's it. Like that's how it's just gonna be. How I'm like, this is how I have the energy to show up right now. So this is what you guys get. And everybody was like, we love when you show up however you want to show up, you know, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, thanks, I appreciate it.
I think it's such a beautiful thing to see authenticity in that way too, where you just kind of like, you know, throw the act out and you're like, I'm genuinely tired. I don't know thing. I feel conflicted about this, because I feel like anybody following you could also relate to that. So, and when you talk about it, it makes it's a real conversation for them too. So I think authenticity would always have a place. So thinking about this, the next generation, and about kids who coming out of secondary school and stuff now, we're starting from the very beginning with zero reference point. Who are you? What do you do? What is this? What is this being in front of me?
Oh wow, I've never been asked that question that way before. And like it's almost like, do I have an identity crisis? Who am I actually? But yes, okay. So my name is Kamron Waithe. I was born in Belize, both my brother and I, but both of my parents are Trinidadians. So I grew up in a Trinbagonian home. And in between primary school and secondary school is where I found my love for music, which is where I would say was like the catalyst for my creativity. My principal in primary school used to write pantomimes, and we would perform a pantomime every year. I started learning recorder in primary school, and that's where my introduction to music happened. I always had an affinity to music. I always loved music. I joined the Presentation College Mixed Choir, and we used to do musicals every year. So that would be like the joy of my existence, being on stage, being a part of a choir, being in a chorale. Then I got to do performing arts theatre in St. Joseph's Convent, because we had theatre straight from the time I entered Form 1. And that, again, was the joy of my existence in school. I loved being on stage. I loved singing. I loved existing in that space. That just kind of progressed as I got older. In Form 1, well, as soon as I went into school, I met a really good friend of mine. Her name is Rebecca Rampol, and she took me to the First Church of the Open Bible's first album launch. And that's where I got saved. That's where I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I was
Oh, so this is not something that you were born into.
No, my family is not Christian, or my family did not follow religion. My grandfather is Hindu, and my mother, she said while she was growing up, Christianity, I think, was popular in her space. And they were very like anti other religions. So she said that she grew up feeling as if Hinduism was bad.
Right.
So she kind of rejected it as a teenager. She's like a very hippie. Like she had her ass long down to her feet until she had to cut it. So she went into like Rastafarianism, Ethiopian Orthodox. She kind of grew us up a little Ethiopian Orthodox. We didn't go to church. It wasn't a big thing. Like I did not have religion in my household. She has a bunch of tattoos. She's like a very free spirit, and that's how she raised us. So I got saved via a friend from school. So I was the only Christian in my household my entire life. When I got saved, it was me being drawn to the music aspect of my church. They're like one of the only churches I know in Trinidad, at least at the time, that had their own musical group that was putting out bodies of work. I did that and I got involved in my church, and I was in my church's choir, and then eventually got into my church's worship team, and eventually became a worship leader. So that's all of these things are kind of developing my musical sense and like my identity in music. Eventually, I also got into media at my church. My friend Shadell and I, we were a part of the media team because at that point in time, that was like when I was around Form 3, Form 4, social media started becoming a thing to be used as like a marketing tool. So our church's youth group started a media team and we were a part of that. And that's where my whole world into like social media kind of we were exposed to that. And from there in church is where I also learned about people who would be super influential in my life at that point in time, which would be people like Christoph and Shaz Pei, who were graphic designers who used to work with our church. That's where we met Melvin Isaac, who's a filmmaker. And that's where we saw people who were in the creative world professionally making money, making a living off of being creative. And we were like, oh, we didn't know that this existed, but this is clearly a possibility. And I was always a creative. I never wanted to be told what to do. I never wanted to be in a uniform. I never wanted to have a 9 to 5. I didn't want to work in the bank. I just knew I could not sit behind a desk and do that. Yeah, I just always knew that that's not what I wanted to go into, and I did not want to have a traditional job. My dad is a lawyer, so that never went down well. But my mom is the creative in our family. So she was a seamstress when we were living in Belize. And then when we moved back to Trinidad, when she moved back to Trinidad, she pursued hairdressing and she's still a hairdresser up to this day. So she's always been very crafty, very creative, again, very free spirited. And that's 10,000% where I get it from. I definitely don't get my singing ability from her, but it's somewhere in the bloodline. My grandfather was a singer. He used to sing in Mastana Bahar.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and during some point in this as well, my best friend and I started a podcast called Recess, and it was birthed out of me wanting to create a space where young people can hear stories about creative professional and to know that it's possible to be a creative professionally in the Caribbean and especially in Trinidad. So we had our podcast. She's also a producer and she's a cinematographer, videographer as well. Shortly after I did that video with Joshua, one of her friends who's a local filmmaker, her name is Shari Petty, she was remotely directing the Lost Tribe 2023 land launch, and she needed a producer on the ground. So she asked Agendr, and very happenstance, Agendr is out of the country. So she referred her to me, and that's where I met Josiah Prasad, who is one of my greatest collaborators now. We met on that set and we just clicked. Like, we worked really well together. He's very talented. He's young. He's younger than me. He's a director, a very popular music video director. We work together really well. He's very quiet. And I am a theater kid, so I project very easily. Being loud is not an issue for me. So we worked really well together as a result. And then he just kind of like roped me into his company, Twin Island Company. I just started getting a lot of music video work from him. I met a producer named Kylie Jacob, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. Like, can you like help me, or can I like assist you or whatever? Nothing came out of it, funnily enough, until we did the music video for Shake the Place. And that's kind of where people, I guess, learned about me and like the fact that I produced. That was Marshall and Destro's like Road March contender that year. After that video, Kylie called me for a project called Carnival Catwalk, which was a fashion-based reality TV series, a fashion competition. And on that project, they brought me on as the locations manager and associate challenge producer. And I think it was that project when my dad was like, okay, you do things. I was like, yeah, I do things. And he still doesn't really, I still don't, sometimes I quiz my parents. I'm like, what do I do for a living? And they're like,
so just a really quick question on what you just said with your dad, being a lawyer and coming from that corporate world. What is that relationship like now that you're killing it in the industry and you are who you are, just doing you?
When I started making money is when my father started respecting or like even remotely caring about what I do. And I think that that's like valid, like as a parent. My dad and I are way closer now than we used to be, and like he's way more involved, and because I'm always asking him about contracts, always like reading over contracts and having to help me draft releases and that kind of stuff. And he's like, this is why. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do a whole law degree for that. Like, let's get over it. As I got older, I started understanding
the stability,
also his humanity, and just like being a parent and wanting the best for your kid and wanting your kids to be successful, wanting your kids to be stable. And trust me, this is not the stable route. Like, I'm a freelancer, so it's very unstable.
I
So
love that you brought this up. This is a beautiful segue into the reality of being a full-time creative,
yeah.
especially in the Caribbean, because that industry is different from, let's say, the States or Europe and stuff like that. So, what is that like for you? Are you still navigating? What have you learned?
Learn how to manage money as early as you possibly can. Navigating the industry and establishing your career as a freelancer is wavy. It's just the reality. Our industry is developing. It has way more opportunity now than it used to, but it still does not have as much opportunity as it could. So it's a lot of roller coaster. It's a lot of our industry has high times and low times. And I didn't even realize that up until like a year or two ago, where I actually started having conversations with other creatives, when I realized that there's like a dip. It is wavy, and it is something that you have to navigate. And I will never shy away from the fact that I always tell people I have a certain level of privilege. Thank God my father's a lawyer and that he chose to go that route. My dad is a major provider in my family and in my life. And the only reason why I was able, or at least one of the extreme major reasons that I was able to pursue my passion and to establish myself in the way that I did, because I didn't go to university after I finished convent. I took a gap, what was supposed to be a gap year, and I was supposed to write my SATs in that gap year and go to university abroad and study communications. That was my plan. And then one of my mentors at the time, he was like, "Come, why don't you just do like a course in social media marketing and go into that?" So I did. I did a course. I never finished the course, and then I bounced around in a bunch of different things. I had another mentor whose name is Dexter Musgrave, who is like my OG for life. He is a creative strategist. Shadell and I met him at a church conference, and she went, and he was amazing. He was like an amazing presenter. And she took my hand, and after he spoke, we went up to him, and she was like, "We don't know you, but you're gonna be our mentor." And he was like, "Who are you?" And okay, that was like the end of that. And he really took us under his wing. I was able to get a lot of experience in advertising without actually having to work in an agency, which I am so super grateful for, because agency life is also not for me. And I was able to gain a lot of experience in the industry via him and under him, which I will be eternally grateful for, because I got to learn how to write radio and TV scripts, do creative campaign generation, learn how to ideate for advertising, kind of mold my mind into that space. That's where I got introduced to Ramon Castillo, who like gave me my first voiceover job, and that's where I was able to go into voiceover acting and that kind of stuff. So all of that was possible because my father was my big financial safety net. I didn't have major bills to pay. I still don't. I did not have rent to pay. I wasn't out on the streets. I don't have kids. Like, I'm not in a position where I have to survive and take care of people who are depending on me. And that is one of the major reasons why I could have afforded to explore and figure my life out. And no, I no, we're not cursing because there might be kids watching this, right?
Just be yourself. I'll just
Yeah,
edit it
you're
because
fine.
I cussed in the last one. So.
Okay, good. So yeah, so like that is the main reason why I could take the time to just do things and figure life out. And I used to do a bunch of personal creative projects because I could. I had a lot of friends who were creative. My best friend, she was going like she picked up the camera and she was into photography. We had friends who were into videography. I had a friend who's an illustrator. So like we used anything we had in our minds. I never thought that if I thought of something that I could not get it done or make it a reality, because I had all the resources at hand to get it done. There was a point in time when I used to do a pop-up thrift shop at my house, and my friend would come and she would take pictures of me in the clothes, and then I would get my friend to like illustrate it and we would release it on Facebook. I love looking back at that part of my life because there was no imposter syndrome. There was no like doubt in my mind whether I could accomplish something, because I was like, I could think it, my friends could do it, and like that's all I need. Again, I spent like about 4 years of my life, which I guess makes sense, like because the degrees are normally 4 years. So if I had gone to university, it would have taken me the same amount of time to kind of like do my degree. So the next 4 years was me just kind of bouncing around and figuring things out. And then COVID happened, and in COVID I went like even deeper into my social media business. That was right after I like joined Ejo, and so I used to be able to take an idea from concept to execution. I never knew that that was a skill. I never knew that that was something that I could offer to other people. It never occurred to me that that was even a thing. I just did it, and it was very, very natural to me. That's just how life worked in my head. I was just like, okay, this is what it is. Until in 2022, my good friend Joshua Regello, our good friend Joshua Regello, called me, because Josh and I went to school together at the same time. We knew each other from school. So he called me, and that's when he was on his own trajectory, and he called me and he was like, Cam, I'm doing my first music video and I need you to help me get it done. And I was like, what on earth makes you think that I could do that? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to do that. I've never done that. What are you talking about? He's like, I don't know. I just know you could do it. And I was like, okay. And that was, Joshua, that was 3 days before we had to get the video done. So he did that. And I was like, okay, well, let's get it done. And we did. And that was the first time that somebody paid me to produce a music video. At that point, I was like, oh, this is something that I can do for other people and that people can pay me to do. Like, that's crazy. I never knew that, never thought about that.
Seeing that was your first production experience, what was that like? I mean, I can imagine, since it's the first time you had to organize things in 3 days. And by the way, that video was so fantastic. I love
Honestly, I love it up to this day. I'm so happy it was my first project for somebody else, because I really do feel so proud of it. It
is beautiful. So well. What was your thinking like? What was your process? Basically going from telling Joshua, I don't know how to do this, or I've never done this before, to actually executing something so well. The kind of calls you had to make, the kind of things that you would have had to do.
I love hate working with Joshua. Like, we have a love-hate relationship, because he is like he's a creative madman. Like, he has these really big concepts and big visions and has no concept of reality. Like, he never thinks that he cannot accomplish what he has in his mind, which is honestly like one of his like greatest.
It's admirable, and it's like,
yeah, like
yeah.
when people say that creative people have to have like some, and creative successful like geniuses have to have some level of delusion. Joshua, case in point. Like, it works. Somehow it works. And he's a great collaborator because of it, because he dreams big and he's like, I know, like, we're gonna get it done somehow. You have to have people like that on your team who are just like gonna figure it out. It doesn't matter what it is, how we need to get it done. Somehow it's gonna get done. The creative process with Joshua is that he will come to me and he will say what his crazy idea is, and then we'll be like, okay, cool, how do we get this done? For that video, a lot of the things that I was responsible for, he wants to get a sign, so I had to link with the sign man, Bruce Keon, big up him. I had to liaise with the director, who was Antonio Archie, liaise with all of the extras, who were just his friends and his family, get a dancer, finalizing locations based on the vision, based on accessibility, based on budget, permissions. Yeah, then making sure we have all the elements we need to make it actually happen, and then managing the shoot on the day itself, making sure that we get all the shots that we need in the time span that we have to get it done.
That is a lot. And so my next question is, do you have a team? Or is it just, you doing everything?
Depending on the scale of the project, I'll know if I need to bring in other production people. There's a network in Trinidad called Trinidad and Tobago Performing Arts Network. That's where we post all of our casting calls. I've been in the industry long enough to develop relationships and to know who I enjoy working with and who I think will get the job done best. So I do have a network of creatives that I can contact when I have to fulfill things like sourcing crew, which is one of the jobs of the producer sometimes, or the first AD, to have to pull together a crew. I'm able to pull together an entire crew if I need one. But as it pertains to like my personal production, I'm like now in the space of kind of developing, I guess, what would be a team, if it's just people who I reach out to or who would be like my first call. And the establishment of hopefully what will be my company soon. Kind of want to focus on developing and connecting with young women, specifically Caribbean women specifically.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of this. This actually gives me so much insight into what you do. And just hearing your journey too, of you just going in different spaces, meeting different people, and just growing as a person, is actually really, really cool. Because nobody's journey is the same, you know? There's no
Yeah.
formula. You just happen to meet this person, or this person came to church and you talk to them and connect with them. So it's really, really insightful. So I want to get into your creativity because you are honestly such a you're such a force when it comes to creating. The colors that you choose, even your website. I went on it and I'm like, yo, this website is one of the most beautiful websites I've ever seen. The color choices that you make, the creative ideas that you do, everything you do, even how you dress today. It's so beautiful. Even with the cut last and everything is always so intentional and just so it's so good. So when people hire you, what stage are you at right now, or how do you prefer to work? Is it that they bring their vision and you bring their vision to life? Is it that you would naturally bring your vibe? Is that why they hire you?
I'm actually in like one of those points in my career where I'm trying to decide how I want to be contributing to project, because how it naturally happened is that I went into the more logistical side of production, which is a lot of, it's basically like project management. It's basically fulfilling tasks and organizational, like existing in film at the organizational level, making sure that things are done, a lot of paperwork, a lot of contracts, that kind of stuff, versus like the more creative aspect of production, which is kind of where I want to move into a little bit more as my career progresses. I want to get a bit more into, I don't know if I want to be a director, but I would like to dip my toe in the space to figure out if it's something that I want to do. I am at the stage now where I am trying to contribute to that space a bit more. So I do more treatments now, have more conversations with people as it pertains to.
Hello. Is this is this is this Luna?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The last time I
Yes.
saw you, you didn't even have knees properly.
This is my niece.
See, it's people like her that we do these things for.
No,
Believe.
literally, she's the best. Like, I
Yeah.
love that kid. I hope that she grows up knowing that she can like just do whatever. We'll see how that progresses. I was saying that I do want to expand a bit more into the creative developmental side of things. So I do have some personal projects that I kind of want to get off the ground, and then I'm also trying to contribute more on the creative end in the projects that I do get to do. Yeah, we'll see. We'll kind of see where that goes. Usually, like I said, it would have been a lot of people come to me with their ideas and they're like, how do I execute it? And we figure it out and I execute. And now, having been in the industry for a while and also being able to develop my own personal content and my creative expressions, especially when it comes to like my posts online, or again how I dress. I think people have always thought of me as a creative person, but again, I just kind of ended up in a logistical role. I don't think I've ever, like, my creative opinion has not ever been respected.
Mhm.
I think I'm now just in a place where I feel like I can contribute more to that space. I'm hoping that I get the opportunities to be able to do so. Like, I was able to exist more in a creative director-ish production management type role for Putin's last concert canvas. I worked together with Gabby Lejange and Joshua. What's Joshua last name?
Ins.
Canes. That was a lot of fun because I discovered the skills that I thought were transferable when it came to film and live production. In my brain, it occurred to me like more stage management, like some of what Gabby does, because she does production management as well. It just never occurred to me that I could contribute in that way. So getting to kind of discover that through that show was also really exciting for me, being able to figure out how my skills could transfer into the live space. And that is something that I want to explore moving forward as well. So we'll see how that goes too.
I mean, yeah, you're definitely a creative person. I mean, again, just look at you. You have it literally oozing off of you. So you said hopefully you'll get jobs. For sure it will come. Yeah, I did want to ask you though, because it's really admirable. Because personally, I don't think I have as much or had as much confidence as you have. The way how you were just like exploring yourself in the years that, you would have done a degree and stuff like that. Where does this confidence come from? Like, what do you tell yourself? Do you meditate? Do you practice? Is this something that your parents, enforced in you?
Okay, let me reapply the hood gloss and then I'll answer.
Oh, and I just want to mention too, because earlier you also said, you mentioned, thank goodness you didn't have like imposter syndrome and stuff like that. So,
Oh yeah, we can get back to that because
yeah,
I have way too much imposter syndrome now, and
you do?
I sometimes as my 28-year-old self, I look back and I'm like, I wish I had a 16-year-old Cameron confidence. My mom grew us up in a very free household. She was not restrictive at all. I never felt restricted. She always allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And some people used to question that and used to be like, what the hell, your parents aren't parenting you. But I turned out great, so I don't know. She had to have done something right. I think having her and having that level of freedom, it was almost as if I just always had autonomy over myself. And I think that that subconsciously contributed to a really strong sense of identity. I was never scared of expressing myself. My creative expression was never something that was controlled or censored. I had a rasp from when I was like 10 to 16. I had a big bandana phase. I had a socks phase where I would only wear like high top collar socks. And I just never cared. I never cared about what people thought about me. It just never occurred to me that I had to. It never occurred. But I think that's again because of the fact that my mom held so much space for me. If this is how I feel or if this is how I want to express myself, this is just how it'll be.
As you mentioned that, did you ever feel, was there any moment in your career working with anybody that you did feel that where you had to censor who you were? Did you have any experience like that working with anybody?
Church is the only place I ever felt that.
Oh.
So in my work life, never. Because I think at the point in time when I started actually working is when I established myself to the point where people hired me because of my self-expression and because of who I was and because who they perceived me to be, which was the person who I actually was. Because I don't think I ever portrayed myself to be anything other than I actually am, which is I'm a creative person. I like expressing myself. Self-expression is a big thing for me. Fashion is a big thing for me. So I think by the time I started getting hired is when I kind of solidified my identity towards people. So they were like, okay, cool, this is what Cameron brings and that's why we want her. The only place I ever felt censored was in church. That has a lot to do with, I think, again, like organized religion and tradition. And I don't want to feel like I'm bad talking my church because in my church still like I still like loved and appreciated what they did for me, but it really was the only place I've ever felt censored or like I had to tailor myself to be a certain way. In my work life, I have yet to work with anyone who's made me feel like I need to censor myself in order to be appreciated or valued.
That's beautiful because I would say that. So let me ask you this actually before I say that. The what is the diversity like in your industry? Because it's different from the music industry, the audio industry. You work with a lot more filmmakers and different people in different, aspects. Do you see a lot of male? Do you see a lot of female? Is it balanced?
The film industry is interesting. Women end up in more logistical roles in film. So you'll see a lot more female producers. I know more female producers than I know male. Funnily enough, I think in the wider industry, like globally, there are more male first assistant directors, but locally there are more female than male. Again, because I think logistically women get placed in more organizational roles. You find a lot more male directors, like gaffers and grips, people who like are known to have to like lift things and stuff, but there are females in the industry who are also very dope and doing those things. So it's good to see. It's just not as much. And the thing is, like, our industry is small, but what I've realized, especially as of late, as I've gotten to kind of dip my toe in other spaces, because there's the film industry, and in the film industry, there's the people who do the commercials, the people who do the narrative film, it's people who do music videos, there's people, and then there's like the videography industry, the guys who do the events, who do parties, who do like that kind of weddings, and then there are people who do live TV, which is like the sports max and like that crew and that type of space, and then there is TV production for TTT and like And a lot of those spaces don't mix, like it's so interesting. I've gotten the privilege of being able to kind of like really see different spaces. I can really only speak for the space that I have been in, which has been heavily music videos, film, that type of space. And that's been my experience so far. It's a lot of male directors. There's Shari, who's like one of our more prominent female directors, a lot of female producers, and I think our industry struggles more with like lack of infrastructure and lack of structure, like nepotism and links and all that geeky type stuff. Like that's these things that we struggle with. I don't think that I have experienced a lot of like gender biasness in my career, thank God. I think the men that I worked with or that I get the pleasure of working with are a lot of men who are also in my generation, which I think helps because they're like your brothers and they're like respectful. And the issues that I have with my guy friends in the industry are more like organizational, like you guys just need to get your shit together.
This is so interesting for me, and honestly, I have a mixed feelings. I'm jealous as well as I'm so happy for you. I shouldn't say jealous, just jealous as in like
No, but yeah, I
curious.
get you. Yeah.
Yeah, curious what that must be like to just be and to just exist without putting your gender in it. So I also
Yeah.
asked this question in previous interviews, and you said it, but I just want to reiterate because this is blowing my mind right now. So
Mhm.
was there ever a moment that you were doing your thing and something happened that it made you remember that, oh yeah, this is happening to me because I'm a woman?
So there was this one project that I worked on. I was the locations manager for that project. They're the people that have to be in contact with the liaisons of the location. It's a social thing. It's like what you have to do or how you have to treat people in order to get them to do what you need them to do, or also just to make them feel comfortable, make them feel welcomed. At the location, they provided a female security and a male security. So during the entire filming day, we'd crack like a couple jokes here and there. He said something about breakfast and like making him breakfast or some kind of thing like that. And again, I'd play along because it's a joke, we're kiki and whatever until we're finished. The female officer, she had my number, she had my contact from the liaison. I was just finishing showering or something and I got a call. And I was like, hello, good day. And they were like, hey, it's so and so from so and so. I got your number from the female officer. Get ready. I'm coming to take you out. And I'm like, sir, I don't know you from a place. What makes you think that it was okay to get my number, lose it, and leave me alone? Please, I'm not going out with you. That's not how this is ever going to happen or work. No, at all. And that moment, I was like, yeah, I'm a woman. And I felt a lot of internal conflict. All of the executive producers on that project were male. It's always tough having this conversation or thinking about these kinds of things, especially when it comes to feminism, because a lot of people like things to be black and white, and a lot of things in life exist in the gray. So when it comes to things like this, what I felt in the moment was like slight resentment towards those men because I felt like they did not consider the fact that I was a young woman having to like be alone and having to deal with all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, it is my job. They hire me to do a job. So if they hired a
But
man,
then,
it'd be fine.
yeah,
Like
but then
I
it
still have to
becomes
do
your
my job.
problem. Yeah.
Exactly. So again, I think it's about balance, and it's almost sometimes hard to hold people accountable in the feminist conversation because it's like you guys want equal rights, but you also want to be contained by men. And, da, 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 and I'm just like, but I don't, I have a right to feel protected. Like, because if I'm being hired by you, you're also responsible for me legally. So yeah, that was definitely one of the more like prevalent situations that I've experienced that I was like, yeah, boy, I'm a woman, and in this space, it was noticeable.
That was an extreme case. That is because it crosses a boundary and you just don't expect it because you answer the call, you have no idea who it is. It could be a new client, and all of a sudden you have this reality of, oh shit, this is happening. So that sucks. And I guess reality would have hit you then in truth with like, oh yeah, this could happen. I should have never been there alone. I should probably even get a fake number. How do I go about in future? All these things to consider. So
Yeah,
wow.
and like I feel like I still have not learned. Like I it's a reality that you kind of have to figure out how to balance.
Yeah, and I agree. I actually struggle with the same thing too. I connect with people, I give them my number, and then all of a sudden I have like six missed calls the next day. And it's like, how do I manage this? This is my fault, even on social media too. I am still very happy to hear though that your experience as a creative working with people like full blown or Putain and stuff, like they just respect you for what you do and who you are and how you show up, which is beautiful because that's all
Yeah.
we want. So this is a very basic question compared to everything else we've been talking about. But like, what does your typical day look like? You're full-time creative. You have so many caps and roles and so many things that you do. I mean, I'm assuming that not every day looks the same. So, but yeah, let me know. What is it like?
Girl, I typical is just not in the vocabulary. All my days look different. Every single one. I have to make a lot of calls on a regular basis to organize locations, calls to organize cast, to get permissions and permit to negotiate rates. Everything is a call. A lot of those admin tasks are what I do on like if I'm not on set. And then if I'm on set, it could range from a couple hours to a full 12-hour film set day. Some days I'm by my granddad helping my mom out. Some days I'm running errands, getting cloth for a fit that I want to make. The other day I went to a program that was put on by a junior creative festival that was put on by a foundation called Art by Creative Design, and we got to speak on a panel on at that session with some young people. So I've been doing a lot of speaking with young people these days. So sometimes I do things like that, and sometimes I'm at home and I bed rot and I watch TV and I
Well, I
sleep.
actually wanted to ask you because you mentioned decompressing. So, again, from the audio music world with all the crazy gigs and rehearsals, a lot of people I've realized have health problems in terms of like acid reflux because we miss meals or we skip
I have acid
meals.
reflux.
Okay. But I
No,
feel
it's
like
real. It's real.
it
I tell
is.
people all the time, I'm like, we're getting older, and I did not even think about it as an industry thing. It makes so much sense. Some of the sets that you have to pinch pennies on, like a lot of the meals are like KFC and pizza, and I'm a stress non-eater. So when I'm stressed out, work, relationally, home, I don't eat, and I also have ADHD. So if I'm hyper focused, I'm not eating. I don't eat on time. Like it's bad. So I'm also trying to commit to like a bit more of like a more intentional, healthier lifestyle because it's not sustainable for me to keep doing this as I'm getting older. Like we have to take care of ourselves and meal prep. I'm happy you asked about that. I think all of those things that we think are menial are actually going to be really important and are really necessary for us to be intentional about as we get older in the creative space because of our like the health complications that come with the neglect of those things in our industry.
It's because of those same reasons when I realized that everybody around me, I was a terrible eater too. I would skip breakfast. I would have the most unhealthy thing. I would have lunch at 5 p.m. It was bad. I always got away with it though. I felt okay. If I could, once I was functioning, once the work was getting done, I'm good. And then I realized everybody around me have acid reflux. And then I was like, oh, there's a pattern here. So
Mm,
I started to write down like my daily schedule. I literally have breakfast, lunch, and dinner written down to make
that's
sure
good.
that I actually like accomplish these things because a lot of people, a lot of the health issues that we have, whether it's by stress or unhealthy habits and stuff, it's you that have to deal with it alone in the
Yeah.
hospital or that pain or whatever kidney failure and these things. So especially as a full-time creative and most likely having to design your own days and stuff like that, it's definitely important to put moments that for you, even in the
Yeah.
morning, even meditating before
Yeah.
having a slow morning and stuff like that. Yeah.
Slow mornings are really important for me. So anytime I get the opportunity, I rest or I try to rest and then I make myself breakfast. That's one of my big things. I like to take my time in the morning and cook myself breakfast and sit down and have my breakfast. And cooking is one of the ways that I like give back to myself. So usually if I'm busy, I don't get to cook. But usually after like a long period of me just kind of going, one of the things I like to do is to just cook myself a nice meal.
Honestly, I agree with you. I only started cooking when I moved out to my parents' house and had to live
Right.
on my own, and it's like, but this feels like self-love because I'm making this amazing thing and I'm so excited to eat it. And then when
Yeah.
I eat it, it's like it's from me to me. It's a really cool thing. So I actually just wanted to touch on your fashion a bit. I know that you also used to post your different fashion looks and sometimes you would rework outfits. I think like you take like different pieces, like even if it's a skirt and make it into a top and you have the
Yeah.
vision to see this. Incredible. I don't. So this is like super amazing to me because it is super amazing. I'm also wanted to connect it to the work that you did with Fashion Catwalk. And what was that like? Did you get to experience any of the fashion aspect? Is that a field that you think that you might consider going into?
My mom is a seamstress, so I think that that's kind of where that all, even if it's subconsciously stemmed from. And again, I was always a kid that had weird fashion choices but never felt like restricted. And as I got older, just being able to express myself more and being able to explore my own personal style, it excites me because I get to communicate something without having saying a word.
That's a big deal because I don't actually think in the Caribbean, or I should just say for Trinidad, that we actually use fashion as expression a lot. A lot of people just
Yeah.
throw on jeans and jerseys, including myself. So this is like very radical in itself.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I take my sense of style and like my expression of my style so intentionally, is because I feel like in the Caribbean we have this idea of you only dress up to go out, or like you only dress up when you like have like a big occasion, and you can't just look dope on an average. Like there was this time I went to the bank and this woman so innocently said to me, she was like, I'm I really thought you were from foreign, and when you like started talking, I was so shocked. I took offense to that. I was like, so we in the Caribbean, we can't look good? Like obviously she meant it innocently, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
that speaks to our mindset so much, because all the time I get that all the time. That's kind of sad because I'm like, we are dope too. I think it's more trendy now than it ever has been, but like I know older creatives who have like stifled their sense of style because people will criticize them. Who you feel you is, or like why as a man are you wearing a shirt that looks like a skirt? I want people to know that it's okay to dress how you want, and feel free to explore and express yourself and find your style and be adventurous and not care what people think about you. That has always been a thing for me. So like I have a bunch of tattoos. Like I love I have piercings, and I take my jewelry game very seriously. Like I'm trying to up my jewelry game right now. I stole
You
these
are
ri-
on point.
Thank you. I stole these rings from my mom because I'm like, they're so dope. Um and I got this one in Greece. Like I just love, again, just fashion is just, it's so fun. Like I don't it's just such a fun thing to explore, a fun medium to explore. When it comes to Carnival Catwalk, it is a fashion based show. My level of involvement in the fashion side of it was purely just me being like, oh shit, this is so cool. Like I had no level of involvement in the fashion aspect of things, but it was nice
Yeah.
to like
To
on look. It was
observe
nice.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's streaming on Peacock, just by the way, I should mention that.
Oh, wait,
So
so was this filmed in Trinidad?
yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. And the challenges were like really cool and very culturally
I love
centered.
that.
So
Yeah.
it was really nice to see their interpretations. It was a really, really cool experience getting to see that live and direct and see them do it in real time, because they really only had a certain amount of time to get the challenges done. One of the reasons why I enjoy fashion and I want to kind of get into these spaces, because I hate the fact that we cannot identify ourselves visually based on what we wear. So
Mm,
like if you see, there are certain like aspects of ethnic fashion that are identifiable, and we, because we're so Western influenced, our fashion is Western based, and as is a lot of the world. But like in I don't like that. I don't like that you can't say, oh, that person is from the Caribbean, or oh, that person is from Trinidad based on what how we look. So a big thing for me is wanting to figure out how do we incorporate our ethnic influences into our fashion in a wearable way, because you don't always want to wear a full sari or a full dashiki or a full kimono.
But this is
But
beautiful because it makes sense with the cutlass necklace, for example.
oh yeah, this is from Noya. Do you know Noya Caribbean? Fiona
Yes,
Compton. She's like,
she's doing
love
an
her
incredible job.
so
Yeah.
bad. She's, if you guys don't know her, please check her out. She's doing some
Mhm.
seriously amazing and very necessary work. This is her merch. So a cutlass, the cutlass is her, a tree line, what we call it, is her logo. And she talks about it as like a form of, or a form of expression and resistance.
When Luna came in, we kind of spoke about it, but this is just to ask. If you had to speak to your 4-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to keep being her, continue being yourself unapologetically, continue standing within yourself even when it may feel as if you shouldn't, or like other people may make you feel otherwise. I would just continue telling myself to continue just being myself, because that's the value that we all have. Like our superpower is in us being us, because nobody else can be us. Even if we do the same things, I have friends who exist, and we all talk about how we all do like different variations of the same thing, but somehow we all have our own spaces, and we all exist, and we all get work, and we all have money. Like it's not impossible. Like we don't have to be in competition with one another, because of the fact that we are all very uniquely ourselves, and we all bring special things to the table, and anybody who has worked with any of us or all of us will be able to also tell you that. So I always encourage young people especially to just be yourself, whoever that is. And it is also a lifelong journey and figuring out who that is. But at every point in time, be as true to yourself and as authentic as you can to your, whoever that person is in that moment. And that is the best value that you can add to any space. There are like a couple principles that I like to express, no matter what industry you're in, or no matter what stage of life you're at. There's a book called Settle Out and Not Given an F by Mark Manson. Love that book. The only self-help book I've ever read and actually enjoyed. And one of the principles in the book that he talks about is the fact that life is hard. Everything is hard, and life is about choosing the hard that you think is worth it. Opportunity cost. Everything comes at a cost. I was speaking to my alma mater. There were a couple of girls, and one of the girls, she's a dancer, but she has like really bad social anxiety. In life, you're gonna have to choose which of these hards is worth it. If you choose to pursue dance as your career, the cost of that is going to be having to overcome your social anxiety. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to network. You're going to have to meet new people. You're going to have to exist within social settings. Or if you choose not doing dance as your main career, the cost of that is you having to live a life of doing something for work that you're not passionate about, which I highly do not recommend. Yeah, everything in life comes at a cost, and you're gonna have to pick what is worth you paying the cost. That's one. Two is be a good person, because people are going to choose people who they can work with over people who they can't. So being a good person goes a really, really long way, because when people like you and when people feel comfortable around you and feel safe around you, they want to be around you. That helps when you're looking for work, because everybody's saying, hey, Kamron is great to work with. Work with her. Don't ever overlook how much being a good person will get you.
That is such an important thing. People want to work with people, again, who they could rely on, who
Yes,
they have a good experience with, because you want your job to be as smooth as possible. There's no way I'm going to have a stressful interaction with somebody and then look to call them to jump on a new project. So it's really just
exactly.
about building good relationships and having a genuine relationship too, because a lot of people have experienced it where networking and stuff like that becomes very transactional,
Yeah.
very fake, very, hey, connect with me, whatever, we could work together. And you're just going around the whole room connecting with everybody. And again, it's forgetful because we didn't get to really connect.
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing you brought up. And I remember my lecturer, Martin Raymond at UTT, used to say it's about 90% personality, 10% skill. Because
It
actually,
is.
yeah, they've had instances where, yes, they work with like the best of the best in certain situations, but they didn't call that person back because they rather work with somebody who was able to adapt and,
Yeah, who's malleable, who's again kind, compassionate, empathetic, who's has a good vibe, who like cares about people, who
correct.
serves. And
Yeah.
that's the next point. One of the great things about social media is that it's made the world smaller and it's made people who are good at what they do more accessible. And one of the big things young people, especially who are trying to get into the industry, is definitely like look for the unpaid work, look for internships, look for opportunities to serve, but be a good servant. Mentorship is works well when you serve well. It's actually less about what you can gain and more about what you can give as somebody who is trying to be a mentee, because good mentors gravitate to good mentees. If you are just a self-serving person who's only concerned about what that person can give you, it's likely that that relationship will not benefit you. It's likely that that relationship will not work out. You will start to feel one-sided because you didn't go in with the right intentions. If you want to learn from somebody, the best thing to do is to figure out how you can serve that person. When you move from a place of servanthood and service, you make somebody's life easier. They're going to naturally want to give back to you. And that's just how it works. That's why in my life, a lot of the people who are around me and a lot of people who like grew up creatively with me, we're good servants. We served our mentors. We figured out how to make their lives easier. What can we do to add to their lives? And they gave back to us tenfold without restriction. The kinds of relationships that I have with my mentors are irreplaceable and priceless. Those things come naturally to me as a person. So I don't know how to tell somebody who is not naturally like that, be this way. But I am telling you what works. Like that is just what it is. If you're not this kind of person, you have to figure out how to become that kind of person, or how to manage yourself in a way where you can get those like results from yourself. And that is also life, figuring out how to manage yourself and discipline yourself in a way in order to get the kind of results you want.
Wow.
But yeah, that's a big thing that I think people kind of like skip over. A lot of people reach out to me about, wanting to like be a part of things, and I'm like, cool, you want to be at the like highest level of this thing before you do anything. And I'm like, that's not how it works. I'm not a gatekeeper. If you want to be a part, I always tell young people I'm always looking for production assistants. But production assistants are grunt workers. Like, and that's where I started. I also didn't start like producing for Marshall. I'm also not about exploiting people. The reality is that you have to start somewhere. And the best way to get into this industry is to do scut work, to do grunt work, to get in at that level, because once you excel at that level, people notice and then they call you back.
This is such great information and you articulated so well. Oh my gosh. You actually answered more questions that I realized I didn't ask you. So I'm so happy that you're talking about and getting into all of this, because this is some really good, valuable information that you're sharing. I appreciate you so much. Yeah.
Of course. No, it's just, again, I'm hoping that somehow somebody hears it and is like, oh, that makes sense. And that brings me to also another thing, which is, Nike's slogan, just do it. It's so overused now. But and I always say there's a reason why the cliches are cliches. And there's a reason why people are attached to that, because it's so, so, so real, especially as creative people. Just do the thing. Whatever it is, figure out a way to do it. And don't be scared to start at a lower level than your brain can conceive something. That's one of my major issues as a creative person. I struggle with being consistent on social media because I want my shit to look how I have it in my head all the time, and that's not sustainable.
That's the point.
I hold myself back a lot of the time because of that, because I'm like, I want to do it at this level, but 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% you can't start at the highest point at all times. Like, it's just not that, it's not sustainable. It's not going to work. And consistency will beat perfection. The idea of perfect is not real. That's another one of my things. Perfect does not exist. That's not real. There is no such thing as perfect. There is such thing as quality, high production value. Those things are measurable. Perfect is not. And done will always be better than perfect. Any successful person will always tell you done is better than perfect, because at the end of the day, when you die, nobody is going to know the great ideas you had in your head.
Yep.
The guy who did all of the 100 subpar ideas that he had that eventually developed into like 10 great things is because he started. People see that. They're not going to see, you're just going to die with all of the ideas in your head, and that's just the reality.
Literally my
And
work.
so just do the thing. Figure out how to do it at the level that you can do it. Do it, and then just keep doing it. And the more that you do it, is the more that you will get better, the more that you will get more opportunities, the more that you will be able to find your tribe, find your people who have the same style as you, people who have similar style as you, people who have different styles than you. And the more that you do it is the more that you also discover yourself. One of the pieces of advice that my mentor gave me in my career when I was struggling with my multidisciplinariness was to do more shit. And I was like, that makes no sense. But you realize that it makes a lot of sense, because the more that you do things is the more you realize what you're more naturally inclined to, what you're less naturally inclined to, what you like to do, what things that you realize, oh, are more hobbies than something that I actually want to pursue as a career. The things that you realize, oh, this is more profitable, so I could like invest here. The more that you do things is the more that you realize, okay, this is actually what I want to be doing.
Yeah, it's such a self-discovery. I have to say, the more I put into music and the things that I like is the more things I learn about myself as a human being.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so okay, I think that's all of the
Well,
little
thank you
nuggets I
so
have.
much for injecting that. Yeah, just one more question.
Yeah.
So you're full-time creative, usually jobs, they might give like a bonus pay for incentive and stuff like that. And being a creative also, it's highly on your mood, your emotions and stuff. But we also know that consistency helps. But we also know that we're human and
Yeah.
we can't be consistent all the time. What does that look like for you? What do you do if you have to pull back? Do you pull back? Is there like a certain a mental routine that you do to stay inspired when it comes to motivation?
Always such an interesting question for me, because I'm like, I really do have ADHD. So like I experience the dopamine crashes like heavily after a long project, or like a season of having a lot of activity. I crash like real bad. Um and I get into like this really weird kind of anti-productive, depressive state where I'm like exhausted, so I should rest, feel guilty for actually resting and doing nothing, figuring out, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Should I rest, or should I invest this time into like doing my own personal projects, and then eventually trying to start my own personal projects and then getting more work and then having to put my personal projects on hold. So like it's not the most healthy cycle, and I have not figured it out 100%, to be very honest. And especially because, again, with how our industry moves, there are like particular seasons that are high and low, and by the time I'm in my low season, I'm like tired and drained, so I don't even get to do the things that I actually want to do. It's not somewhere where I've reached where I've been like, yeah, this is how I manage it. I'm literally figuring that out and trying to find more sustainable ways to manage
Mhm.
those crashes, and to ensure that they're not crashes, and then also kind of try to figure out how do I balance work that I have to do in order to like make money, which I also enjoy, but the things that I actually want to do and the other projects that I want to pursue, kind of figuring out how to manage my life and like my finances in a way that allows me to really
Mhm.
intentionally pursue those things.
Yeah.
In terms of like motivation and inspiration, I'm like constantly inspired. Like life is if you like are a noticer of life, I don't think you'll ever really be uninspired. There's too much material, it's too much shit going on. And even like these small things that other people may not notice. I think once you have the habit of at some point slowing down and noticing things, you'll kind of forever be inspired. I also try my best to consume good work, consume art, go to art galleries, try to find new music, just the act and art of noticing and consuming good stuff.
Beautiful, beautifully
Yeah.
said. Something you mentioned there too about like the balance between doing creative projects that that pay and then spending time on doing your own creative projects, because that is a thing too, where people, okay, you decide that I don't need to be a doctor or an engineer. I am going to pursue my career in the creative industry. And then you don't realize that there's this other thing where now you have to choose between taking on jobs and then also pursuing your own creative voice and stuff like that, which it is a balance.
Yeah.
Because whatever you spend your time and energy in, that's what you're nourishing and that's what you're basically, growing. So if you only accept jobs and only accept gigs and stuff like that, then that's what you're going to grow. You're still not developing your own voice and your own creativity. So there definitely is
Absolutely.
balance there too.
And
Yeah.
that's literally where I'm at in my career. I feel defeated so many times because I want to apply to these programs, but
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of like personal work that I've done, like I've written and like have
Mm,
produced. So a lot of the times I don't have things to apply with. So like
yeah.
I get really defeated sometimes because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all of this work and stuff, but I have nothing to
Mhm.
show of my own. That's my own creative voice. I'm really planning to be way more intentional about in the coming year.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what that's like, because so far I have seen you in a lot of projects with your input. And if that's what we see, and this is just you kind of collaborating, I'm so curious to know what goes
Oh
on
my
in your
gosh,
head.
J9.
Because even just now, when you said when you hear music, you could, envision like a whole film and a whole setting and stuff like that. It's beautiful to hear things like this because I don't think like that. This is
Right,
so
yeah.
refreshing to hear the difference in creativity and exactly why we need each other. Because I'm going to come with music and I'm going to be like, I don't know what to do with this. And you're going to hear it. And I see this and I see that. So yeah, I love the ecosystem that
Me
we have.
too. Creativity is really beautiful and it's again community. It creativity is community. We're all it is an ecosystem. We all need each other. We all feed off of each other, which is why I think this, what you guys are doing, and then agenda is so important just for us as a people, us as a society, us as a creative community. So thank you guys for doing the great that you all do too.
And thank you, because you also have so many projects too. So I'm just so proud right now, honestly. Know Your Caribbean, Harmony, what you're doing with Recess and other projects, Agenda. I just love how everybody is like making these spaces and doing it properly and putting down some heavy foundation so that there's some legacy that's building so that those that come
Mhm.
after really have like a strong path. Because the truth is like, you grow up thinking, oh, why isn't this here? Why isn't that there? Why they not doing this? And you grow up as an adult and you realize it's us.
Is you. Mhm.
Yeah, we have to do it. I have to do it. And I can't wait until my peers or even people who I work with to do it. I'm going to speak for Trinidad because I can't speak for the other islands, but I definitely realize that we have a heavy sort of competition based way of living.
Very crab in the barrel.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be like that.
Unfortunately, I think it has a lot to do with like our like being post-colonial, like having been
Mm.
colonized and having been taught that there is only so much. Of course, like at a certain point, we are obviously like perpetuating things that we don't have to.
Mhm.
And I think it has to do a lot with like our societal issues. But yeah, it is very, we don't need to, there's enough to go around.
Correct.
And there our industries will get further the more we collaborate with one another and the more we see the power of unity and the power of us coming together rather than being divisive. I'm very community oriented. I'm very each one help one. Like I don't think that we were meant to do any of this alone.
No.
And that's how I feel about creative. That's how I feel about the Caribbean. I feel like we should be uniting as the Caribbean.
The more you learn histories, the more you understand that things are
Yeah.
very intentional and we actually have a choice in the actions that we take in our day-to-day lives, whether it's even being on a set or whatever. Because the truth is, you're right. In biology and everything, diversity is what evolves ecosystems and what makes a healthy ecosystem. So we need each other. So creating these spaces, oh my God, it's such a beautiful thing. It's again, it's community,
Yeah.
it's evolution. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I also try to encourage young people to go through the process, whatever that is. As a multidisciplinary creative, a lot of my time was spent being frustrated that I was so multidisciplinary. We didn't have that
Mm.
title when I
Mm-mm.
was growing up. It was always that you have to kind of figure out how to niche, and because if people need to pay you, they need to identify what you do. And the
Yeah.
only way to do that is to figure out what the one thing is that you can communicate to people. Hey, I do this. A lot of my younger years were spent in frustration trying to figure out, because I wasn't like super passionate about any one thing or super good at any one thing, to say, okay, this is the one thing that I want to do and that I want you to pay me for. All of the things that I had done led me to be a producer. All these places that I inhabited were part of the process to learn
Mhm.
about what goes on here and what goes on there, and how to take a concept from concept to execution, and like all of those things. It served me in the end, and like it really all came together and it worked out for my good. And it will
Yeah.
never feel like it in the moment. It will never feel it's a part of the process. It just is. So I would also like tell people, just the process of the process, even though you don't even realize that it's the process.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you brought that back up, because it was a question that I was going to ask when you were giving me your journey and growing up, like if you had a specific label. So yeah, it's good that you mentioned that. As well as, so far, when I look back on everything in my life in hindsight, everything really worked out exactly how it was supposed to work out. Even if the thing didn't work out, it was because I connected to somebody else, or it led
Yeah.
me to something else, which makes me take a way more relaxed stance now, where it's like I actually don't need to worry about this too much, or even at all, because I'm alive. I made it this far. I could trust myself. At least I could trust myself, and I trust the
Yeah.
process. And that's been actually one of my affirmations in the morning. I am a relaxed woman, because I remember seeing a post that said, I know hardworking women. I know women who do the impossible. I know women who've
Mm,
accomplished X, Y, and Z, but I've never witnessed a relaxed woman. And I was like, holy shit, that's so true. Always panicky, always worried, always like, in a fritz. So I've been trying to intentionally in my own life just trust. Even with this project here, I had a deadline and I was feeling so pressured, like I have to prove that, I deserve this money
yeah,
and
that you
stuff like
deserve
that.
the money.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of projects that I created trying to like generate the music, but I just needed to relax and let life happen, have my own experiences, and things started to make sense only in August or whatever the case is. And in the end, the product that I have is something that I genuinely love so much. And
Yeah.
it keeps reminding me like, it's okay, it will work out. It's fine.
You are such a big inspiration to me, and I wanted to like bring this up
Oh.
because I feel like existing in a post-colonial Western capitalist society is so exhausting. As a little fairy free bird that I want to be, I would love to just marry a rich man, but he also has to be compassionate and very loving and empathetic. And I'm sure that there are not many of those out there, because I don't want to have to work. Like, I don't want to have to make money off of my art. I just want to make my art.
We all feel stressed and depressed and anxious, and it's like, I don't really want to go to work. I just want to go on a beach and lay down, as we should. The beach was there
Yeah.
for us. And the whole economy and the whole capitalist environment is really based on you having to prove to yourself that you and the world that you have to earn yourself by being here. And this is why we constantly question our value in life. And even in tribes way back then, indigenous people before, your existence is enough. That was it. That's all it takes. Find yourself, explore, have fun, be a human, have a human experience. All that was removed because we work in a certain system here that is clearly collapsing because it's not natural. And I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Are a huge inspiration to me, because I feel like you have, and I know that you like have your own personal struggles, but I feel like you are somebody that is just unapologetically yourself, and like you're not scared to explore the extents of yourself, even if it might look weird to society or even if it's not the norm. Like I feel so much more free, and I also feel so much more encouraged to know that there is a different way of life that you can also explore, that is not like, again, what we've been fed. I can slow down and still be a worth, and I can breathe and still, contribute to society in a meaningful way. So yeah, I wanted to thank you for like even just you being you and you journeying in the way that you do, and moving through life in the way that you do, because you inspire others, aka me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That is such a heartwarming thing to say. And honestly, I feel the same about you too. And this is why being yourself is just so important, because that
Yeah.
authenticity triggers other people, and it's such a vibe.
When people say authenticity is my brand, it's not just my brand, it's who I am as a person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a very emotional person. I'm very sentimental. I'm very empathetic. I'm very compassionate. It's all of this stuff comes with me being me. Like the idea of getting into a new relationship for me is always very scary, because I don't want to have to think about editing myself to exist with a new person. One of my friends had spoken to me about being a woman, playing the game, and like doing certain things to make men feel a certain way, and I'm just like, "Ugh." I'm like, that's growth to me. I'm tired. I don't have the energy for that. I don't have the energy to put any type of filter over myself to exist with people. It's a big thing for me in relationships, and it's a big thing for me like when it comes to socializing, and it will also be a big thing for me in work.
So, are there any upcoming works or anything that you'd like to talk about or mention?
That documentary that I worked on is going to be out on BBC UK. It'll be streaming on BET UK, I think, as well. So
Amazing. Congrats.
yeah, that was a very, very cool, very serendipitous
Mm.
project, but I'm really looking forward to that.
What was
So
it? What was your role in this project?
I was the fixer. I was a
Okay.
local producer, local production coordinator.
That's
Yeah.
so great. I'm excited, and you let me know when it's out for sure.
I will. And then, well, of course, all of the music videos that are going to be out for the season, I, I'm working on a couple. We just did one with Marshall, have some with Kutin coming up, um, doing one with Teja. So I have some personal stuff I'm working on too, but I don't want to put a timeline on that yet, because I don't want to pressure myself. If you really want to see what I'm doing, follow me and I'll post as much as I can.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today for 3 hours.
Thanks for having me. Good
It
luck
was such a
editing.
pleasure.